Hello again, and welcome to Learning Opportunities for Service and Beyond. We're really excited to have you join us today.
Thank you to all of you who have been posting to the chat question about the goal you hope to accomplish during your year of service. It's great to see such positive and professional goals, and also recognize that you're commenting on ways that you want to grow as well as fulfill the duties of your VISTA assignment. You may have joined VISTA to become involved in anti-poverty causes, or to learn about nonprofit management. Perhaps you saw an opportunity to become a better public speaker or to help a specific community that is meaningful to you.
So this session will show you how to make the most of your year of service so that while you're building capacity in the community, you're also building your own capacity. The VISTA program is going to offer a range of resources to support your professional development, and we want to let you know what's available. So in this session, we'll identify some ways you can build your skills to help you in your service and also point you to some resources to make this happen. During your orientation, you might have learned some of the basics about your VISTA assignment description or VAD. You might even have begun identifying some skills that you need to accomplish that VAD. So now you're going to learn of ways to develop those skills to ensure your success.
Let me start by saying that I'm Eric Powell, and I served as a VISTA from 2007 to, no, actually, sorry, I got my own dates wrong, 2006 to 2007, and a VISTA leader to 2007 to 2008. And I'm very excited to have you on this webinar.
And I'm Khadija Carr, Suitability and Screening Specialist for VISTA and proud VISTA alum, serving from 2015 to 2016 in my hometown, Silver Spring, Maryland.
And I'm Charles Huang. I'm a VISTA Member Support Specialist, and I served as a VISTA from 2016 to 2017 in New York City.
So now that you've met us and know a little bit about us, understanding that we'll be your hosts today from VISTA headquarters in Washington, D.C. You'll also see our fabulous colleague, Scott Weinrose, in the chat and Q&A, and he'll also be joining us a little bit later in the presentation to do a brief run-through of the VISTA campus. So let's show you what our agenda looks like for today. We'll start by looking at what we call the Individual Development Plan as a tool for your ongoing learning. Then we'll explore 4 areas relevant to VISTA service. We'll show you a range of useful resources on the VISTA campus and on lots of other websites. And then we'll see what questions you have towards the end of the presentation. Throughout the presentation, we'll also have lots of opportunities for you to participate. And if this works for everyone, I'll ask Khadija to start us off.
Thank you, Eric. So this webinar is focused on the professional development of VISTA members like yourself. So all of you recently completed your VISTA orientation, which introduced you to the VISTA program, its benefits, and to concepts of poverty and theories of change. You've also been engaged in learning the specifics of your VISTA role and the site where you're serving through on-site orientation and training. As these formal trainings wind down, you'll need to think about what comes next. Even when you're finished on-site training, your learning as a VISTA is not over.
All right, so first let's revisit one of your most important tools. Your responsibilities as a VISTA are outlined in the VISTA assignment description, or VAD. So during orientation, you had a chance to review your VAD and think about what it would take to accomplish it. So you and your supervisor will likely come up with additional activities to support the achievement of your objectives and to capitalize on your unique strengths and skills. So your VAD may be refined somewhat in the upcoming weeks.
All right, so similar to in the beginning of this webinar, we'd like to hear from you again. And this time we will use the chat feature. So if you don't see the chat panel on the right side of the screen, you can open it now by clicking on the chat icon in the upper right corner. Use the chat panel to share what skills you will need to accomplish your VAD. So hopefully you're familiar with what's in your VISTA assignment description, or VAD. And so whether your VAD includes fundraising, volunteer recruitment, community engagement, or event management, it's likely that there are things in there that you haven't done before. So you'll need to learn how to do them. And you'll learn them, and you'll need to plan as well. So what skills will you need to accomplish your VAD? Let's see, so I'm seeing interview skills, survey design, volunteer recruitment, event planning, research skills, fundraising, communication, more fundraising, finance, volunteer mobilization, grant writing, tons of grant writing, tons of community engagement, tons of event planning. So it looks like there's a wide range of skills that you'll be using in your upcoming year. Please continue to share these skills with your peers in the chat. The VISTA assignment description, it's really what forms the foundation of your work. So plan to use it to your advantage. You'll want to explore it thoroughly as well. You'll start by meeting with your supervisor to review your VAD and develop measurable milestones and deliverables. Take notes and write down any areas that need clarification so you fully understand your assignment. Keep your VAD handy so you can refer back to it periodically to track your progress. And as you get further into your service, you and your VISTA supervisor may come up with additional activities to capitalize on your unique strengths. So your VAD may evolve somewhat from the original version that you're looking at right now. Your VISTA supervisor is the person to answer questions about the VAD, its time frame, and other aspects of your assignment.
Awesome. So as you serve, you'll have opportunities to develop or sharpen your knowledge and skills that are going to help you carry out your VAD more effectively. So as we mentioned, one way to help you plan for what skills or knowledge you're going to need to develop is by creating an individual development plan, or IDP. And this is a great tool for capturing the skills you need and identifying the specific learning activities you might want to do to basically develop your skills. So there are lots of ways that you can organize an individual development plan, and what we have is a simple template that's available for download from the VISTA campus, and this link will be posted in the chat panel to the right. And on the screen right now, we also gave an example on how to fill this out. So as the example, if my VAD says that grant writing is something that I will need to be doing, I might want to first think about how much do I already know about grant writing. So if I already know a little bit about grant writing, but I feel like I want to develop my skills more, I might list this as a medium priority. So from there, you would want to identify your own opportunities for how you would develop that skill. So for this specific example, what I might want to do is to apply to take the resource development, fundraising, and grant writing course on the VISTA campus. So you may know where you want to end up, but the individual development plan allows you to plot your path with concrete action steps for getting there. So as we go through this session today, you can start thinking about what you personally need, and you can write down any resources that we discussed that might help you gain these skills.
All right. So we've got 4 areas to explore with you today, and we're going to walk through these main areas of learning that seem useful for most VISTAs. And for each, we will show you resources on the VISTA campus and beyond to guide your learning in this area. We'll also look at ways that you can connect with other VISTAs on the subject.
So I have to share the quick legal fine print. We're going to show you a number of websites and resources that we think will be very helpful. But remember that just because we mention them does not mean that they're endorsed by the VISTA program or by the Corporation for National and Community Service. You will definitely want to figure out which resources are right for you. But of course, to help you follow along with the presentation and avoid having to write down every single resource, because there are a lot, there is a handout you can download that lists the resources we'll be mentioning. And again, we posted that in the chat.
All right, so you've been a VISTA for just a couple of weeks, but you need to know the ins and outs of your VISTA service. So you learned a lot of it before you started service, probably during your orientation, but there's plenty more to know. So what we're going to do now is let's use the raise hand feature of WebEx. It's located at the bottom of the participant panel in the upper right corner of the screen. So if you know the answer to this question, I want you to click raise hand. So here's the question that we're going to start off with, which is how do you reapply for another year of VISTA service? So again, you can click raise hand if you know the answer. right, so I see a couple of people raising their hands.
Yeah, it looks like there's quite a few people that are raising their hands, so we assume most of you know the answer to the question, which is great.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't, it's no problem. You're just going to want to look at the VISTA member handbook. Yeah, so you can now put your hands down.
All right. So one of the first steps as you're getting settled is to read the VISTA member handbook. This handbook details the policies of the VISTA program, and it also outlines the process for requesting assistance. It has answers to questions like, how many personal days do you get? What do you do if you want to take a college class? And where to get support if you have a family emergency. The handbook is located on the VISTA campus in the section called Life as a VISTA.
All right, so now we also want to get to know the organization where you are serving. So what you can do is you can dive into some documents that lay the foundation for your organization. So this could include their strategic plan, their mission, or their vision statement. And another resource is if there have been VISTAs at your site before, you can review their accomplishments through past quarterly reports or any other documents that you left behind, which your supervisor can share with you. And you can also meet with people in your organization's various departments to learn about their respective roles and how you, as a VISTA, can work together with them. And these contacts are also likely to have connections in the community that you're serving in, which can also be helpful.
We'd like to hear from you again, and since we're on a webinar, let's take advantage of one of the other features available to us. On the right is a poll about how often you meet with your supervisor. And we're talking about formal meetings, right? Meaning that both of you actually scheduled time to discuss identified topics. I'm not talking about just answering a question in passing or having an impromptu 5-minute check-in. So at this time, please take a moment to answer the following question. How frequently do you formally meet with your supervisor? Is it A, multiple times each week, B, once a week, C, once every 2 weeks, D, about once a month, or E, I have yet to set up formal meetings with my supervisor? Once you've selected your answer, be sure to click the Submit button so that we can tabulate these responses.
Should be a pretty quick poll, so we'll give you a, we just closed it, since it should be pretty quick, and we'll see what the answer says. What do you think the answer is going to be?
Ooh, yikes. I'm thinking once every 2 weeks, B. Charles, what do you think?
Sounds about right.
That's kind of what I was thinking it could be, but we could be very wrong.
All right, let's see. The poll has ended, and it looks like most folks chose B. The frequency they meet with their supervisors is about once a week. And then after that, the most was multiple times each week. So it seems like most of you are on the ball with this. A number of you who did not answer, we will get to you on the next one. You know, we know that schedules can be really busy with meetings, site visits, activities, and so much more as a VISTA. And it can really be a challenge to sit down and have an actual meeting sometimes. However, one of the biggest elements to VISTA member success, both personally and professionally, is good supervisor and good member-supervisor relationship. So we want you to have the adequate support that you need as you continue to grow and learn. And we also want you to do your part to ensure that your supervisor and the organization know about your challenges and accomplishments.
While we're talking about supervisors, let's chat for a bit about what to do if your supervisor is not providing the support that you need. There may be times when a situation with a supervisor is too challenging for you to manage on your own. For example, if you feel that your supervisor is treating you unfairly or harassing you, perhaps if your supervisor is unavailable and you don't know when and you'll see them again, or maybe you have so many supervisors that you can't get any decisions made on your project or you don't know who to turn to. If you do have a challenge that is preventing you from having a successful VISTA experience, there are some resources you can turn to. If your project has a VISTA leader, you can and should approach your leader for general advice, problem solving, and help facilitating difficult conversations. Also, you have direct contact and communication with your CNCS state office, who can assist you with any issues you might have relating to how your VISTA project is being managed, its ability to attain its goals, or any issue that cannot be resolved by your supervisor. They can also intervene if you are not receiving supervision, if the things you are being asked to do are very different from what's in your VAD, if your tasks are not capacity building, if you happen to be replacing staff as a staff member, and if you encounter harassment or discrimination. You can also turn to other VISTA members, either at your project or across the country, for advice and support. As you probably have already figured out, the VISTA campus has a wide variety of discussion forums where you can post questions and ask your colleagues for input. We also have a webinar that digs very deeply into supervisor issues and how to manage them. This webinar is called Managing Up, Navigating the VISTA Supervisor Relationship. An on-demand version of this webinar is available on this webinar page of the VISTA campus.
All right, thanks, Eric. So as you can see, we've added 2 more life hacks to the Life Hacks for VISTA slide, which are regular meetings with your supervisor and learning where to get additional support when you need it.
I'm back again, which means that I'd love to hear from you again. So now that you've been on your project for a couple of weeks, has anything popped up that makes you really nervous about your VAD? Or maybe you're worried about, being asked to do something that's beyond your skill set. Maybe the tasks outlined are really just too big. Is there anything that we could possibly provide that would alleviate some of this nervousness? Also, on the flip side of that, we also want to know what you're really excited about in your VAD. Is there something specific that you are working on or gearing up to work on that you are particularly passionate about? We always love hearing about the wonderful work that you're doing, so please let us know. All right, let's see. I'm nervous and excited about the same things, learning and doing new things. Rightfully so. Excited about expanding food donations to those in need. Sometimes it's difficult to receive an answer to my questions. It's almost like they speak a different language. I hear you, Monica. Same story. Let's see. Excited to really dive into different communities I'm working in and living in. Excited about impact in the community. Nervous about running out of time to complete all my goals. Oh my goodness, Matthew, same story. All right, so I'm seeing a ton of great responses here. Please continue to share with your peers.
Thank you, Khadija. That's really great to see how people are excited and how they're combating their nervousness. And we know that many of you identified specific skills or knowledge areas as well, where you certainly realize that you need to know more in order to be effective in carrying out your VAD. It's very likely that your VAD includes things that you've never done before, which is okay, and sometimes that can be scary and exciting at the same time, but that will give you the opportunity to learn something new. So that's a perfect segue to the next 3 topics, which relate to the kinds of things that many VISTA members are responsible for.
All right, so we've already looked at some life hacks to make your service easier. Now let's move on and take a look at the other 3 areas that relate to many VISTA assignments. We'll start with community outreach. I know this can encompass a lot, including general communication, social media, as well as direct face-to-face outreach. We'll show you some campus resources, some resources beyond the campus, as well as some peer resources from other VISTA members. There are several VISTA campus resources that dig into capacity building, which is essential to community development work, and one that helps you challenge your own assumptions called Not Always What You Think.
Thanks, Khadija. And there's also an interactive tutorial on community building, which is called the 5 Cs. And it looks at, community, connections, control, cache, and collective action. And the last resource that's listed here, which is strengthening your organization, your community, and your projects, is going to show you how to build your program's sustainability by deepening your ties to the surrounding community. And you can use the faceted search feature on the VISTA campus to narrow down these results so you can get to the resources and tutorials that best meet your specific needs.
Also on the VISTA campus, there are a number of on-demand webinars on topics relating to outreach that you can watch at your own convenience. Here are just a few. There is Writing Powerful Impact Statements. This webinar engages others in your project. You need to know exactly what your project is, of course, and to do that you have to tell a compelling story of what the project is doing. Another example is called Planning a Social Media Campaign for Your Project. This webinar gives you a guide to developing a social media plan through setting realistic goals, examining components of a social media plan, and then implementing them. And then my final example is building a professional network for service and career. As part of your professional and personal development, you will need to develop partnerships, interact with many people, and of course, engage the community. You can use this webinar to leverage networks for professional success and social impact during and after your service. We typically offer webinars every month, so there are plenty of opportunities for you to learn. To access these live and on-demand webinars on the VISTA campus, go to the Connect and Learn tab and click on Webinars. We will also send you email notices so you'll know what's coming up and when. Be sure to register for the webinar in advance and add it to your calendar so that you won't end up with scheduling conflicts.
Awesome. So in addition to the resources created by the VISTA program that we just mentioned, you can also get information and advice from your fellow VISTA members, which is available through the VISTA campus. So first is the discussion forums. So for example, right now there's a thread called Getting Information to Program Clients in the forum You and the Work. And this one looks at ways of reaching out to clients and potential clients for a program which other VISTAs might be able to provide insight on. And the best way to stay connected through the forums is to subscribe to each forum that might interest you, which is another way to get automatically subscribed. You can also reply to a post, and we'll show you how a little bit later. So one other section of the campus contains materials that are created by VISTA leaders as part of the Action Learning Challenge. It's called the Team Products page. And in the area of community outreach is a guide to gaining community buy-in for your VISTA project that highlights 9 best practices for successful community participation.
Looking beyond the VISTA campus for a moment, here is a fantastic resource developed by the University of Kansas. The Community Toolbox is a free online resource for those working to build healthier communities and bring about social change. It offers thousands of pages of tips and tools for taking action in communities. Whether it's community assessment, planning, evaluation, or advocacy, the Community Toolbox has something to offer among its 300 educational modules and other free tools. It is currently available in English, Spanish, and Arabic. It includes extensive readings on community building, toolkits, a troubleshooting guide, and a database of best practices. They even offer an Ask an Advisor feature where you can submit a question to their panel of experts or browse answers to other people's questions.
And here are some additional resources outside of VISTA that might interest you. To connect to others working in the community, look for a chapter of a young nonprofit professionals network in your area. YNPN can be a great place to network, and some of them offer learning opportunities and social events as well. The Building Movement Project has put together a handbook on community engagement. They call it the NICE Guide, N-I-C-E, which stands for Nonprofits Integrating Community Engagement. And it's really nice. I know that was corny, but haha. In terms of online courses, here is just a sampling of a few examples. Allison has a free course on encouraging diverse community involvement. Coursera offers one on integrated marketing communications that looks at how to communicate effectively with various audiences that could help your outreach efforts. And you may also want to be in touch with your supervisor who may have recommendations for additional training that you could take that's related to your VAD.
All right, let's move on, and we'll go from community outreach to volunteer mobilization. And from here, we'll see what kinds of resources might advance your service in this area. So whether it's a big part of your VAD or an occasional need for special events, you may have a need to engage volunteers in what you're doing. Fortunately, there's a lot available on this subject. The VISTA campus has an entire section on volunteer management with a range of resources. VISTA also offers a 10-week online course in volunteer mobilization that you can earn college credit recommendation from the American Council on Education. And there are related resources in other areas of the campus as well. So a quick search will turn up lots more. For example, there's a resource on engaging volunteers in fundraising events.
All right, so as you might have guessed, there are also a number of on-demand webinars related to volunteer mobilization that you can basically watch at your convenience on the VISTA campus. So here are just a few of them. One of them is high-impact volunteer recruitment, which teaches you how to recruit the best volunteers for your project so they can get things done. And then there's building sustainability into a volunteer program, which shows how to anticipate your volunteers' expectations and then help build relationships that will enhance their engagement in your project. And then there's also creating group volunteer opportunities that engage and inspire. And just like the title says, it'll help you learn how to plan a group volunteer project that's going to engage your community and attract them to your project. So again, you can access these live on-demand webinars on the webinars page of the VISTA campus.
Speaking of the campus, there is also information available and advice from other VISTA members. The discussion forums on the campus has lots of posts about volunteers. For example, there is a thread called Volunteer Record Keeping. In that post, there are discussions about the pros and cons of various databases and software packages to manage volunteer data. Another thread looks at ways of getting volunteers that will stick around. There's more, so I encourage you to use the search feature in the forums to see what your colleagues have been sharing. And be sure to weigh in and add your own voice. The Action Learning Team Products page has a really fantastic guide to National Days of Service project ideas that provides instructions, planning timelines, and templates for planning and implementing successful community volunteer projects for National Days of Service.
Looking outside of the VISTA program once again, there's many places to find information on volunteer management. First, you can look for a local volunteer managers group in your area. There are local associations, sometimes called DOVIAs, Directors of Volunteers in Agencies, that offer regular meetings, trainings, and networking opportunities. At the national level, there's a group called ALIVE, the Association of Leaders in Volunteer Engagement. And of course, if there's not a group in your area, or if you simply prefer online interaction, there's a wealth of online communities and discussion sites for volunteer managers.
Of course, you will find a wealth of learning resources on the internet as well. Energize Inc. has the most comprehensive collection of resources on volunteer management. There are professional development resources, tools related to career advancement, links to online communities, and a directory of local volunteer manager groups. Volunteer Match offers more than just a powerful volunteer recruitment site. They offer free webinars on a range of volunteer management topics, books and resources, and a volunteer management blog. Points of Light offers an annual conference on volunteering and service, recognition programs like the Daily Point of Light Award, and the President's Volunteer Service Award, and the volunteer recruitment site, All for Good. The Council for Certification in Volunteer Administration offers a professional accreditation for those in the field of volunteer administration, along with the textbook and pathway for achieving it. They publish the Professional Ethics in Volunteer Management that can serve as a guide for all of those working with volunteers. Everyone Ready is an online volunteer management skill-building program featuring some of the best-known names in volunteer management from around the world. It's not free, but many larger organizations have subscriptions, so you might find a partner with access to this resource. And of course, these are just a few of the many, many resources available in the field of volunteer management that you can find online.
All right, and piggybacking off of that, this brings us to the fourth area I want to explore with you, which is resource development. So as VISTAs, you probably know that you're capacity builders, and one of the most common ways that you can build capacity is to generate financial resources for your organization and or your community. And let's not forget that beyond your VISTA service, knowing how to raise money is a great skill to have if you plan to work further in the nonprofit or public service sector.
As we've been talking a lot about the VISTA campus, we of course want to mention that it has a huge section on resource development with lots of resources related to grant writing, and I know a lot of you earlier in the chat posted that you wanted training and information on grant writing, so definitely take a look at that. There's information on fundraising as well as special events. There's also a tutorial on researching grants, which is a great introduction to how do you find funding opportunities. And as Khadija said earlier, the VISTA program also offers a 10-week online course specifically in resource development for which you can earn 3 college credit recommendations.
We have live and on-demand webinars related to resource development that you can watch at your own convenience. There's creating an online fundraising strategy, writing winning proposals, advice from an experienced grant reviewer, and a webinar on how to find funding opportunities. Remember to register in advance and add the webinar to your calendar. Of course, your fellow VISTAs have shared lots of information and advice on fundraising and grant writing through the campus forum. There's a thread called Fundraising Ideas, where VISTAs are sharing just that, ideas for fundraising an event. Others look at donor tracking software, including Salesforce, and a compilation of grant-related resources. These are just a few examples, so use the forum search feature to see what else is there.
And of course, there are also plenty of places beyond the campus to find more information on resource development. So those of you who see yourself in the resource development field in the future, you can check out the Association for Fundraising Professionals website and explore their professional development section. This includes everything from conferences and leadership training to executive institutes and certifications. And there's also the American Grant Writers Association, which publishes the Professional Standards and Code of Ethics for grant writers. They also offer a free newsletter and fee-based online courses and workshops. And there's also many local networks for grant writers in your area, so you can see if there's one near you, and it could be a good way to meet others in your field. So going on, there's also the Foundation Center and Grantsmanship Center. They offer a trove of information about private foundations, corporate giving programs, government grants, and other funding sources. They have some online learning resources, trainings, and databases of funders that you can use for your projects. Some of the resources are by paid subscription, but there's also plenty that are available for free. And then GrantSpace is also a service of the Foundation Center. It also offers free and paid training as well as online learning resources.
All right, so we've just shared a ton of resources with you, and now it's your turn to share professional development resources that you would recommend to your fellow VISTAs. Please use the chat panel to post your suggestions. Maybe you found a free course or online resource that was especially helpful. Is there maybe an affinity group or professional organization that you think really resonates especially well with your VISTA service? Or what was that one TED Talk that you saw that you think everyone should watch? Share them in the chat. All right, let's see. Code Academy, Khan Academy for coding and computer programming skills. I'm seeing The Balance, smb.com, Toastmasters, excellent. VISTA webinars, webinars from organizations that partner with my organization. Skillshare.com, wow, I've not heard of this one. Thanks for sharing, Kendall. It's not always free, they say, but it's extremely affordable. Ooh, I'm loving all the links that are being dropped in the chat. This seems super helpful. Seeing a tip here, if you're working in public schools, you should look to see if there's an office like mine that you can reach out to, which is the Office of Grant Development. I'm seeing that some people are in school still and have resources provided there. Always helpful. When in doubt, Google it. My personal philosophy, Mary. Awesome. So these are some really good ones. Continue posting. I haven't seen anybody post anything about Allison, Linda, or Coursera, which are my personal favorites. Allison has courses in community development, fundraising, and also some other topics relevant to nonprofit work. And Coursera has more general offerings like writing skills, project management, communications. Let's see, LinkedIn, Google, and Bing search engines. The public library, I like it, I like it. I'm seeing, yes, Linda's used, exclamation point. I see some enthusiasm there. Public libraries again, awesome. So these are some really great suggestions so far. Please continue to share, and we'll take a look and see what more resources we can share with you all.
All right, and that is a perfect segue to our next topic. We already talked a lot about specific sites and resources, and we know that some people brought up the subject of public libraries in the chat, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So yeah, even with all of your online resources, brick-and-mortar public libraries are still very valuable learning sites. Yeah, basically all you need is a library card. And many local libraries have access to online databases and grant writing resources you can use. You can rely on your librarians, they're usually well-versed in the latest digital trends and resources. And many libraries offer free access to audiobooks, ebooks, movies, music, and other digital resources they can use. And let's not forget that libraries often have community bulletin boards. You can use them to post notices for volunteers. You can use them for community meetings, and you can use them to set up recreational or social opportunities for yourself. So you can be sure to check them out. You see what I did there?
Nice.
Oh, man, Charles. Jokester. All right, so you can also use the U.S. Census Bureau. Yes, I said the Census Bureau. They offer free webinars on a range of topics related to using census data to better understand communities. And whether it's looking at education and income levels in various neighborhoods or understanding who's living in your country or state, these webinars offer insights and allow you to conduct your own research based on your interests.
And at the local level, you can get valuable information on community needs, available services, and many other details about the social service landscape from organizations like your local United Way, Volunteer Center, or Chamber of Commerce. Don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you can't find out. Some of these organizations also offer training and networking opportunities to find out what's available in your community.
You can also carefully turn to the internet for free courses. You're probably familiar with sites like Coursera, heard a number of you say Khan Academy, Allison, and Linda. These provide free online courses. More specific to the nonprofit world are sites like Nonprofit Ready, with dozens of free online courses in everything from project management to nonprofit accounting. There's also the Alliance for Nonprofit Management and Free Management Library, which offers free and inexpensive articles, reports, handbooks, and resources on a range of topics related to nonprofit work.
Okay, so you get the idea. There's lots of resources out there, great and wonderful things for you, no matter what topic you're interested in. But we do want to quickly bring your attention back to the VISTA program for more tailored input on what you're doing and how it relates to your VISTA service. As we've mentioned, your fellow VISTA members, leaders, and supervisors are an amazing source of information about what works in the VISTA context, so don't be afraid to reach out to each other.
Yeah, and as we've said before, you can connect with other VISTAs through the VISTA Campus website. On there, you can fill out your project area and interest in your campus user profile, and you can also add a photo, and you can interact on the campus forums and use the map to find other VISTAs and VISTA alumni in your area. And often VISTA alumni are happy to help current VISTAs get started, so you can use them as a resource. You can connect with the VISTA program and other VISTAs through other social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can share your photos of service and tag them with AmeriCorps VISTA. All right, so whether you've been using LinkedIn or not, now is definitely a good time to create or update your profile. So within LinkedIn, you can search for AmeriCorps VISTA. You can go to our company page and click follow. And this is going to ensure that our curated job search advice updates are going to show up on your feed. And so how to create or update your LinkedIn profile, you can post your service year under your experience. You can select AmeriCorps VISTA as the company, and then if you do that, the AmeriCorps VISTA logo is automatically going to populate in the image field. And if you want, you can also create a second entry listing your sponsoring organization as the company in addition to that. And then you can also make sure to include the words AmeriCorps VISTA in your job title.
Make sure you identify yourself as a VISTA by putting the VISTA logo in your email signature and on your business card. You can see examples on the screen. Make sure that your organization's website, social media platforms, brochures, and other communications mention that VISTA is powering your program. Also, you got that VISTA polo shirt, and make sure that you're wearing it with pride. The handout for this session contains links where you can get VISTA logos, business card templates, and of course a free poster to use to decorate your office and represent VISTA in the field. If you want to order more VISTA gear, there's always the National Service Gear Store, and that's listed there too.
Awesome. So during your VISTA orientation, you probably had a chance to develop your minute message, or it can also be called the elevator pitch, which is a short speech about your organization and your role there as a VISTA. So you can make sure to rehearse it often so that it comes up easily to you, and you can explain quickly what you do to potential partners, communities, employers, and anybody else who might be interested. And there are plenty of resources on the VISTA campus as well that can teach you about creating an elevator pitch.
Thank you, Charles. That was a great segue. As we've mentioned, a number of resources and features on the VISTA campus that will help you stay connected and informed. And we know many of you have already taken a look at the campus, but just to make sure you're aware of new resources that you might want to look at and ways to access and navigate the campus, we're going to invite an expert on the campus, Scott Weinrobe, who's going to take a minute now to show you how to access some of the features we've mentioned during this presentation. Take it away, Scott.
Well, thank you, Eric, and hi, everyone. It's really nice to be with you today, and I'm glad to have a chance to talk with you a little bit more about the VISTA campus. Eric and Khadijah and Charles have been telling you a lot about some of the great resources that we have on the campus. I wanted to give you a little bit of, I guess, behind-the-scenes tour to some of the features that may not be as apparent or that are tied to having an account and logging into the campus, to encourage you to visit often and to log in and really get the most out of the website. So we designed the campus in the hope that you'll find it easy to navigate. The sections that we've talked most about today are the resources can be found in Life as a VISTA and the work, as well as Connect and Learn. So those are really the three sections of the site that we focused on most today and we think will be most helpful through your service year. You've already come across when you started your service and when you created an account on the campus, your learning plan. I wanted to show you a little bit more about the learning plan and some of the features that are built into it. You can get to the learning plan a couple of ways. When you're logged in from the home page, there's a link. Or you can go to this little drop-down menu underneath your name in the upper right corner of the screen. Whenever you're logged in and from any place on the site, you'll get a link there to the learning plan. And the learning plan is divided into a few different sections. There's required learning, and really the only training that's required is the training that you did when you started service. So this links to the page where you find the Terms and Conditions course, also the Benefits Hub, the Civil Rights and Responsibilities course, and some other materials that we feel are particularly important when you're starting service. But they're also good resources to return to throughout your service year, particularly, for example, the Benefits Hub. There's also a suggested learning area of the learning plan. Some of the items on the suggested learning plan are automatically suggested to you whenever you create an account with a VISTA user type. But the suggested learning plan is also where you can suggest training to your learning connections, and they can suggest useful resources to you. So I'll come back in a minute to learning connections, tell you a little bit more about that. First, the last area that I wanted to point out is the favorite content area of the learning plan. And we designed this just to be kind of an easy way to bookmark resources that you find and want to come back to later. As you've seen, there's really a lot on the campus, so we want to make it easy to find things that you found particularly valuable. So let's say, for example, you've heard from a colleague that there's a really good recorded webinar that taught them about how to apply their VISTA service to their resume and career. So I think Charles mentioned earlier that we have a faceted search on the campus. So if you get a lot of results, you can filter in a number of different ways. I know that it's a recorded webinar, so I'm going to go ahead and filter down to recorded webinars that have the word resume. It works even though I spelled it without the accent, and here's the one I'm looking for, translating VISTA service to your resume and career. So I go ahead and click on that, and it's an on-demand webinar, which means it's a recorded video. This one is about an hour and a half, so I really encourage you to take the time to watch the recorded webinars, but we also know that they can be a little bit long and you may not have time to watch them all in one sitting, but if that's the case, you can use the favorite content feature of the learning plan to bookmark them and come back to it later. So you would do that just by clicking this button here, add this to my learning plan, and then the next time you do come back to your learning plan, you'll see that on-demand webinar is now listed under your favorite content. I mentioned in connection with the suggested learning that your learning connections can suggest training to you and vice versa. You can access learning connections in a couple of ways, but probably the easiest way is, again, when you're logged into the campus, under Connect and Learn, there's a link right to the Learning Connections screen. And there you can search for other VISTAs, supervisors, alumni, and so on. So let's say that I want to make a connection with my supervisor, a learning connection with my supervisor. It happens to be named Celia Supervisor, so I just type in her name and click search, and here she is. The way that we designed this, all you have to do is click the little plus icon, and if I were to click send to confirm, it would send Celia a connection request. Once she accepted that, then we would be learning connections. And at that point, in addition to being able to bookmark training for yourself, you'll be able to suggest training to Celia, and she would be able to do the same, suggest a resource that she thinks that you would find helpful. In addition, you can also send private messages to your Learning Connections through a built-in messaging feature on the campus. Another way to make connections that was mentioned earlier is through the VISTA map. You can use that to search for people in your area, and it works by zooming in. As you zoom in, it will resolve. Let's say that I happen to be serving somewhere here. I think this is south of Seattle, Tacoma, so I click on the little pin, and if I can click on Jamie's name and find out a little bit more, or I just see the kind of thumbnail card here to see that Jamie works at the Salvation Army Food Bank in Centralia. I would just click the little plus icon again to send a connection request, and then once Jamie accepts, we're connected. Last, let me show you what's been mentioned several times, the VISTA forums. So you'll also find that under Connect and Learn. Click on Forums. One special feature of the forums that I wanted to call out is that it has its own separate search feature, this forum search field right on the home page of the forums. And we did that so that when you're using the main search, since there can be quite a few forum posts, it keeps them all from appearing in the list, and you can just do a targeted search within the forums. That will search within all the forums you have access to, but the main area you'll be interested in browsing anyway is the VISTA forums. And there's a bunch of forums there. I think our most popular has always been the VISTA Cafe, which is just kind of an open forum for posting questions and thoughts and insights about your service and looking for responses from your fellow VISTAs. So you can always add a new forum topic to any forum, or you can go in and click on a thread and add a comment to respond. So I hope that's helpful just as a quick tour of some of the features of the campus, and hope you'll spend time continuing to explore it. And with that, let me go ahead and pass things back to Eric.
Thank you very much, Scott. Greatly appreciated that people have a better understanding of how the campus was built, how it works, and how they can use it. It's really helpful to see where the various resources are housed and how to learn how to use the various interactive tools. And as Scott kind of mentioned, if you're not sure what you should do next on the campus, Scott already gave us a few great ideas. First, you can visit the work section to explore the resources there and how it will benefit you in your VAD. Second, you can add a resource to your learning plan so you can easily find it later. Third, feel free to connect with other VISTAs using Learning Connections, discussion forums, and the VISTA map.
All right, so it's time to share your thoughts again. We've covered a lot of information today. So what is one next step you can take today after this webinar ends? Is it maybe bookmarking the member handbook on your learning plan, or looking for an online course, or is it maybe searching for the next community association meeting? What are your ideas? Share them now in the chat panel. Okay, so it seems like folks want to start volunteer mobilization course, join a professional development network, bookmarking, looking for ways to network, using the VISTA webinars, connecting with other VISTAs in the area, good stuff, VISTA map, connecting with young professionals, networking, exploring more campus and network, VISTA forums, VISTA webinars, starting on courses, lots here. Actually reading the handbook, I hear you.
Nice.
I can do the grant and professional development class and learn now to become better at networking out of college. Great, so these are some really, really great ideas. Cool. So in addition to the ones that we've just shared, here are some additional and immediate next steps that you can take today. First, you can use this webinar in the VISTA campus to enhance and identify some professional development goals and share those with your supervisor. If you don't already have regular meetings scheduled with your supervisor, reach out to them and schedule one.
Yeah, and second, you can also identify one resource such as the on-demand webinar, a self-paced course, or a helpful video to add to your learning plan on the VISTA campus.
You also may choose to research a professional organization in your current field or in a field that interests you and investigate a typical career path in that area while looking at online trainings, resources, webinars, and other learning opportunities.
And finally, identify at least one free learning resource that might help guide you in your service. The handout for this session will include links to examples that we mentioned. Yeah, so we have given you a lot to think about, and I'm sure you have some questions. But before we start the Q&A session, we'd like to get a chance to get your feedback on this presentation.
As you saw a poll showing up earlier, you should also now see a poll on the right side of your screen with an evaluation panel. We really take heart to the feedback VISTA members give us on webinars so we can improve in the future. So please input your feedback, and we will definitely take a look at that. And while you're completing the evaluation, we will start the Q&A portion of our session.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1. You will be prompted to record your name. To withdraw your question, you may press *2. Again, press *1 to ask a question. And one moment, please, for our first question.
And remember that you can also ask a question in the Q&A panel on the webinar as well. While we wait for questions, I'll quickly say I saw a couple of questions earlier about the 2 college-accredited online courses that are on the VISTA campus. The application window for the fall courses has closed, but the next time we have a round available, we always send an email out to all the currently serving VISTA members. So we typically try to have openings 2 to 3 times a year, so you'll get an email the next time those 2 courses on volunteer mobilization and resource development, fundraising, and grant writing are available to apply.
At this time, I'm showing no questions on the phone lines. Again, just press *1 to ask a question.
So here's a question that we'll certainly ask our panelists and we'll provide our answers to. Do you have any recommendations for issues with fellow VISTA members at your site, assuming that you're a VISTA that has multiple VISTAs at your site, and perhaps the VISTAs are unhappy or unsatisfied in their position and are making it difficult to get work done? So there's a couple of thoughts I'll share, and then our team can certainly follow up. Certainly if you're working with a team, one, I would strongly recommend, as Khadijah and Charles said earlier, make sure that you have a regular scheduled individual meeting with your supervisor. Sometimes we've seen that VISTAs who are on large projects, all their VISTAs might meet together. But if you're meeting directly with your supervisor on an individual basis, it gives you a chance to further explore this situation and find that if your supervisor has any issues or remedies to help resolve the situation. The other thing you might want to do, and it's up to you, is sometimes when you have other VISTAs at your site, if you have a chance to talk to them either at break or at lunch or outside of the quote-unquote formal environment, just to check in on how they're doing. Certainly you're not their supervisor, but sometimes someone might just be having a bad day and then taking it out on everyone else. But it's a good idea just to check in and see how they're doing. Okay.
Let's see. I'm seeing a question that says, can you still enroll in the resource development course, or has the application closed? So unfortunately, the application period for the fall term is closed, but you'll get an email when the application for the winter term opens in a few months.
There's another question that relates more to VISTA gear. So as you know, as a VISTA member, fairly soon after you start service, you get certain free VISTA gear, typically a VISTA polo shirt, VISTA t-shirt, water bottle, tote bag, journal, and lapel pin. So you get 6 free items. If you've recently started service, it usually takes about a week or 2 for you to get the email with instructions on how to order that, but you also have to make sure your oath was submitted correctly. But wait about, I would say, about 2 weeks into your service, and you'll be getting an email, typically from the VISTA Member Support Unit, on how to order your free VISTA gear. I see a question about how do you go about getting business cards and swag, which I assume also relates to gear.
So there is a free business card template that can be found on the VISTA campus. Scott will be posting that link to the chat. Thanks in advance, Scott. As far as the other gear is concerned, nationalservice.gov/gear is the place to go for the other VISTA tchotchke.
Definitely. And as Khadija said, we certainly recommend you use business cards, or sometimes your project site / supervisor might already have a business card for you or be able to create them for you so you don't have to, but that's another question to ask your supervisor if they have the ability to do so. There's a question that came in about the poll. Don't worry about it. If you submitted the wrong answer or you can't access it, don't worry about it. If you're on a smartphone or tablet, you would not be able to access it, but once you submit the information in the poll, it's locked, so you're not able to edit it. And yes, the 2 online courses for college credit do count towards VISTA service hours, so you would not have to do that coursework at home because it is part of your VISTA service. That would count towards your VISTA service hours. Just make sure to let your supervisor know that you've applied through the course, and if you get into it, let them know that you did so they can adjust your schedule to make that work. Operator, do we have any questions that came in over the phone?
At this time, I'm showing no questions on the phone lines.
We'll take a look and see what other questions came in on the webinar.
Let's see.
So Scott, I think, already answered the question that came in earlier about if you already registered for the fall window of the online courses, should we have now heard whether we got into it or not? The answer is no. You'll hear in about a week to a week and a half. It takes a while for the team to go through all the applications and make sure that people who need to attend can attend, and there's a few other factors they factor in, but Scott had said earlier, in about a week to a week and a half from now, you'll hear as to whether you were accepted into the fall course or not.
Oh, actually, Eric, this is Scott. The fall courses actually start next Monday. The students who applied will hear back from our registrar by the end of this week, by end of day Friday, on their admission, on their enrollment status.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
All right, let's see. Please continue to add your questions to the Q&A panel.
There's a follow-up question about VISTA gear. I'm going to once again post the link in the chat. So this is a link if you want to purchase additional gear or find additional publications. You can go to this website and order additional information.
Let's see. If I don't receive my 6 free items for some reason, is there a way to reorder them? I had a lot of trouble with the formatting and some of the instructions, so I'm concerned that I won't get them.
That's a good question. Without knowing the details of your response, I'll say typically if you have any issues, you can respond to the email that you got from the VMSU about ordering, but usually once you place your order, it's one and done. But if there's any questions, reply to the email they sent you, and they'll be able to assist in either ordering it on your behalf or making sure the order does go through. So Lori, your question is a more complicated one. It relates to if the office that you're working in is pretty noisy and hard to hear, is it okay to do the online courses from home or other work? So obviously as a VISTA, you're expected to serve 40 hours a week, which is basically full-time. Some organizations are 38, but about 40 hours a week. And so you should be at your site during that time unless you're at meetings or other things that are part of your VISTA service. But yes, if you really wanted to do the coursework outside of your normal full-time service in the office, you certainly can. But you also might want to, if any of you have an environment that's not helpful to you, if it's too noisy, too cold, too whatever, definitely mention that to your supervisor, because we don't want VISTAs serving in situations that prevent them from succeeding or cause harm, physical, emotional, whatever. So mention that to your supervisor. They might be able to find you a different place to sit, or they could just respectfully ask the office to quiet down, because it might be too noisy for other people as well. Charles and Khadija, what other, as we scroll through the questions, do you see any other questions that have come in? My computer's slowing down. Thank you.
I don't see anything.
Any questions on the phone? Probably not. Most people don't ask questions on the phone.
And at this time, I'm showing no questions on the phone lines.
Well, as Khadija said, we'll wait here just 2 or 3 more minutes to see if there's additional questions, but we certainly want to get any questions answered if they have any.
And again, just press *1 on the phone lines to ask a question.
If you're wondering about this webinar specifically, in about a week, you should receive an email with instructions on how to access the recording via email.
Well, seeing that there are no additional questions, I think we can slowly work our way towards the final slide.
But before we depart, I want to share information on our upcoming webinar, which is Maximizing Your VISTA Healthcare Benefit. And that is actually happening tomorrow, Thursday, September 6th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'd also like to thank our production team. Thanks so much, Scott, and I'd also like to thank my fellow presenters, Eric and Charles, and of course, our lovely operator, Shirley.
We're excited and glad that you joined this webinar. We, of course, look forward to hearing great things about you and your service. We'll be on the webinar for just 2 or 3 more minutes answering additional questions that come in via the webinar. But again, thank you for your participation, thank you for your service, and thank you for making a huge difference to your community and to the people around you.
Thanks.
Thank you.